What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here coming back at y'all with a 2 minute drill to wrap up your week. April 9th, 2021, man. We got some great weekend stuff coming up. So I'm hoping you guys have a great weekend. But we're back here with our last episode of the week. I think I saved the best for last. We've already looked at the top 5 quarterbacks, top 5 running backs for this draft class. It's time to get into some wide receivers, guys. Man, this wide receiving class is so deep. I mean, it's probably 10, 15 deep of guys who I think can make at least somewhat of a dent in the NFL, have some starting spots, and can make an impact. So it was really hard for me to do a top 5, man. I'm really, this number 5 spot I've went back and forth on. I think in the one we released on social media a few weeks ago, I had Kadarius Toney. I took him out. I really wanted to move another guy up, but I stuck with my main top 4. So let's get to my new number 5. This guy really has grown on me as I've been watching film, as I've been kind of covering these prospects, and that is Rashod Bateman. Following Tyler Johnson, who made some big plays for the Buccaneers this year. This is a guy who struggled in the limited action we saw last year at times. Very limited film due to a late opt out, but his 2019 season, I mean, his potential has put him as a surefire first round pick. This kid's the real deal. Over almost 150 catches, almost 2,400 receiving yards, 19 receiving touchdowns over in his career at Minnesota. He averaged over 20 yards per catch in 2019, and it shows his ability to stretch the field deep. For pros, though, I mean, his number one thing for me with his size and physicality is his release off the line of scrimmage. He has a very strong basketball background. It's equipped him with amazing footwork, foot quickness, athleticism to get off the line of scrimmage when the ball snaps. This is where he makes his money. He is able to make plays off the line of scrimmage, and that immediate separation allows him to, you know, get behind defenders. And Tanner Morgan was able to put some balls on him, and he was able to go make some plays. He also can use his size. He's a pretty big dude to create separation with his physicality and strength. He's very physical at the line of scrimmage. He's strong, and so if you try to put your hands on him, he's going to put his hands on you, and it's up to you to really try to knock him off his line, and it doesn't happen often. He also has elite ball skills. He attacks the ball consistently while in the air. He is very good at high pointing the ball, and he has the ability to jump over smaller defenders, and this really helps him excel on one-on-one situations. I'm very impressed with the ball skills of Bateman. I think you could say the same thing about Johnson, who came out last year, but there are some cons. With being the 5th guy, the cons are always going to be there. Drops. I know this seems like I'm just picking, but when you're analyzing these guys and you have to really critically evaluate their film, everyone's got a few problems. I mean, even the number 1 and 2 guy on my list have problems that I saw watching their film. And Bateman had one of the higher drop rates in this top 5. I mean, it was his number 1 problem, honestly. He had an almost 15% drop rate through his career. Yes, it could be due to inconsistent quarterback play at times, but it's something to watch. And it just could be that he tried to do too much. And, with the ball forced into awkward spots, he was put in some bad spots and he didn't come down with the catch. That's fine. But drop rates in the NFL, I mean, those windows are real tight. When the ball gets to you, you're going to have someone putting their hands on you or putting their chest in you. So you got to be able to hang on to the ball. And if he becomes if a drop issue follows him into the NFL, it could really limit his potential. Speed as well. Now I know. I already know I got one dude who listens, one of my good friends from Minnesota. He's going to say, man, how are you going to put speed? He ran a 4.39 at his pro day. I'm a bit skeptical of that number. I've seen an account going around doing like laser timer 40s on videos, or like they're timing the videos of the 40-yard dashes and things like that. I mean, that 4.39, man, is not holding up very well. I'm very skeptical of it. He doesn't play like he runs a 4.39. Bateman, I think, would run more in the 4.45 range, 4.45 range, which is not the elite speed that we see from some of the prospects we're going to talk about later. But I think he plays with enough speed to be successful, but he doesn't have that breakaway speed that I think that really separates him from like the top three of this class. So just he has speed, just not elite speed. I guess I'll put it elite speed for Bateman. And for the pro comparison, this is kind of a general one. I think a lot of people are seeing the same similarities in Bateman as Keenan Allen, Chargers wide receiver. He's very successful. I mean, arguably a top 15 receiver in the league. And so that's about what I think Bateman's ceiling is. If you draft him in the late first round, that's what you're gonna get is a Keenan Allen type guy, maybe a pro bowler, multi-year starter, and he could be your wide receiver one or two. And so I'm gonna go with Keenan Allen for Rashod Bateman here. And then number four, listen, I'm gonna be a much higher on this guy. I know he's been falling on some people's draft boards, but I'm just very confident that he's going to be a problem if he stays healthy. And I think without the injuries, if he would have had 3 full years of healthy football, I think this kid is as crazy as to say could be a top 2 wide receiver in this class. And that's Rondale Moore from Purdue, man. This kid is so good, but man, he missed all but 7 games over the past 2 seasons. But he was arguably the best wide receiver as a true freshman in 2018. Over 114 catches, 1,200 receiving yards, 12 receiving touchdowns, had a few rushing touchdowns, had over 10 yards per touch. He led the country in catches, led the Big Ten in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, catches, kickoff returns, and was a consensus All-American. What else do you want from him, man? He was the freshman of the year, in the Big Ten. I mean, what do you want? He dominated the Big Ten, which had some really, really good defenses in that conference. And he did it all with not, elite size. And he did it on Purdue with not the best quarterback play, not the best offensive scheme. I mean, what he did to Ohio State has to go down as one of the best performances that we've seen in recent memory. This kid took over the country that night. When looking at his pros, though, you got to put electricity and explosion here. I mean, he ran a 4.2940, and that, I mean, this kid can fly. A 6.683 cone, which was the 92nd percentile for wide receivers, and a 43-inch vert at his height is in the 99th percentile. I mean, this kid is so athletic. All these things help him be electric on the field. He has an explosion where every time he touches the ball, he is a real problem, a real threat to score, create a big explosive play for your team. And another pro is his stop-start ability. This has to do with his size, his low center of gravity, his amazing balance. He can go 0 to 100 or 100 to 0 in a blink of an eye, guys. He's so quick that he has the possibility to really embarrass people in open space. And I don't think anyone wants to see him in the open field. And it also allows him to be so versatile with this. You can bring him on a jet sweep. You can throw him a screen pass. You can throw it underneath. You can throw it mid-range. He has the speed to beat someone deep. And you can put him on special teams if you wanted, or run it something out of a wildcat formation because he's small enough to kind of, get behind his offensive lineman and hit the hole without, the linebacker seeing where he's going. This kid's so versatile like that, and that's why versatility is my last one here. So you got versatility, start stop ability, and electricity explosion. And for cons, the obvious one's injuries, man. I already mentioned it earlier. I mean, countless lower body injuries have plagued him for 2 years. So can he get past those? And the biggest question in this draft is, can Rondale Moore stay healthy? If he can, I think a lot of NFL teams are going to be sold on his potential. But if he can't, we're just going to have another what-if story. There's going to be a 30 for 30 somewhere talking about the best that never was. Part 2, Rondale Moore sets the Big Ten on fire and never heard of again because he can't stay healthy. And it would be a disappointing story. So I'm really hoping that Rondale Moore can stay on the field, stay healthy. But then the other question, y'all knew it was coming, size. 5'7", maybe 170, 180, but he plays a lot bigger than he is. And this is always going to be a concern with players as small, doesn't have a real elite height, but he has a lot of muscle. His frame is very solid and it helps him absorb hits. And that's, that could have been another positive, but I didn't want to drag on forever. When people get their hands on him or get hits on him, he doesn't always go down at first contact, and that's very, very special for a guy his size. And I know this pro comparison is so controversial, but I'm going to stick with it. I think this is why he's a boomer bust prospect. I think he's a shorter Tyreek Hill. I know that sounds crazy, guys, but that's his potential. He's I think an inch and a half or two, or maybe even 2 inches shorter than Tyreek Hill, but they weigh, roughly about the same. They have the same build. They're both have elite speed. They both have elite athleticism, very, very strong verticals. And I think if he could put on a bit more muscle and prove that he can be a deep threat, Rondale Moore has Tyreek Hill potential. And I mean, let's be honest, no one thought Tyreek Hill was going to be what he was coming out of college. I think if Rondale Moore can stay healthy, that's what his ceiling is. And for number three, I mean, who listening here doesn't know who the top three is? Y'all are just here to see what order the top three are in. So let's head down to Tuscaloosa, man. I got Jalen Waddle here, and I know a lot of people have him second, and a lot of people have him above Devonta Smith, which I think is a little outrageous. And I'll get to why, but this is my first Alabama wide receiver on the list, and I get chills, man. I really do. I get goosebumps thinking about what Jalen Waddle could have been without the injuries, and what Jalen Waddle could have been as a feature number one wide receiver. I mean, already he had 106 catches, over 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 3 kickoff and punt return touchdowns, almost 800 return yards. He led the SEC in yards per reception in 2020 before he got hurt. He's so electric, man. This is Rondale Moore for the SEC, but a little bit bigger. I mean, his pros, I mean, are just hit movement and explosion off the line. He is just disgusting. I mean, you have a 5-yard radius to get your hands on him, or he is going to be 20 yards behind you catching a ball to go to the end zone. Ask Texas A&M about it. Ask anyone who played Alabama early in the season before he got hurt, or even played him last year. Ask Auburn what happened in the Iron Bowl, even though Auburn went on to win that game. Jalen Waddle absolutely did despicable things to that defense and that special teams unit. His speed also. There's just hours and hours of film of Waddle absolutely burning DBs across the SEC. And I mean, it's usually the general consensus that the SEC has the most pro-ready DBs. You look at J.C. Horn, and of course, Patrick Surtain was on his team, but those are two of the examples right there. With his speed, though, the reason he's so deadly is that when he runs routes, there's no hesitation, and he has pure confidence. I mean, pure just like, I'm going to get off this line and I'm going to burn you right now. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop me, and I'm going to the end zone. I'm getting behind you, and I love it. I love his confidence and what he brings to a team. And then his third positive is the special teams. He might be the most, I guess, equipped to be a kick or punt returner. He's a dominant special teams player with Devin Hester potential. He can return punts. He can return kicks at an elite level. The problem is an NFL team going to, put him at risk for injury? Because, of course, we all know he got hurt on a return this year for Alabama. The cons, it's got to be experience, man. I think he's played less than 1,000 career snaps. I believe it's like 970, and that was due to injury, being buried behind the stupid amount of talent in the Alabama wide receiver room. And going along with this, he was never a wide receiver one in his career. He always was behind a Devonta Smith, a Henry Ruggs, a Jerry Jeudy. What's going to happen if he gets drafted to a team where he's going to have to lead that unit? Is he going to be ready for that? And that's what I'm going to be able to. That's what I want to be able to see, is if all the coverage is shifted towards you, can you still go out there and make plays? And I'm going to be interested with that because, I mean, he never had to really do that at Bama. And also, this, kind of the same lines as Rondale Moore, injury recovery. I know he's not an injury-prone guy, but that broken ankle was nasty. It required a lot of recovery, and we still haven't seen him fully healthy. I mean, we saw him trying to play in the national championship game, but you could tell he was at like 60% at most. Things are looking up for Waddle. I think he'll be fine, recover fine, but you still have to have some concern about an injury like that that's so serious. And for my pro comp, and this, I really think this was the hardest one for me in terms of what he could be in the pros. And I want y'all to really let me know what y'all think about this. I have a more athletic Curtis Samuel. Former Panthers receiver, now plays for the Washington football team at receiver. I think he's an explosive deep threat guy, but I just don't know if he can ever be that number one wide receiver. I think if he's in a good unit, he can make a lot of plays, and he has a chance to probably make a few Pro Bowls and things like that. And I think Curtis Samuel hasn't reached his potential either, but I can see a lot of similarities between these two guys. So I'm going to go with a more athletic, explosive Curtis Samuel. And here we go, man. It's the top two. Y'all probably knew coming in who my top two were going to be. And there's a lot of controversy here about who should be number one, who should be number two. Are we looking at 19? Are we looking at 2019, 2020? Well, man, I'm gonna have to justify myself here, I know, but I got Jamar Chase at number two. I know my co-host Brandon's probably gonna watch this when it's released and just be like, what are you doing with your life? Jamar Chase is number one. It's not even a question. This was the best wide receiver from the 2019 season, opted out last year, but was an intricate part in the 2019 national championship run that we saw LSU make. He was Joe Burrow's number one target, 84 catches, over 1,700 receiving yards, man, 20 touchdowns, averaged 21 yards per catch in 19, consensus All-American, Bolitnikoff Award winner, led the country in receiving yards and touchdowns while being second in the SEC in catches, first in the SEC in yards per catch. So the accolades, the production is there. And for his pros, now, I love Javonte Williams. We talked about him and how he chooses violence when he runs. Jamar Chase does a similar thing in terms of how he pass catches and how he plays. I mean, he has grown man strength, and that's what I'm going to put here first. Grown man strength. 22 broken tackles after the catch in 2019. He will big boy you. He will embarrass you one-on-one with his physicality and his aggression, man. This kid plays mad. This kid plays like he's better than you. And that's just something you can't teach. And his strength and just pure aggression he plays with is one of the reasons why I think he's going to be very successful. Number two, ball tracking or / ball skills. He makes plays at the catch point, and it allows him to play much bigger than he actually is. It's the best way to put it. He knows exactly where the ball will be placed. He places that his body in return in the perfect position to make a play on that ball. And I don't know if he has just that elite breakaway speed, but his in-game speed and how fast he plays is elite. He might not be the fastest wide receiver in the 40-yard dash, but he plays in a different gear when they're out there in pads, because we've all heard game speed versus track speed, two totally different things. There's no question Jamar Chase has elite game speed and will make a lot of plays in the NFL. Now, cons. These are going to seem petty. I know. I get it. But he only has 1 year of production, guys. 1 year. That's it. And that worries me. That's a little bit worrisome to me, is he only has 1 year. And these two cons are tied together. In that 1 year, are you a product of Joe Brady's passing system? Or are you a Joe Burrow product? Are you a product of the team that, once it's all said and done, might have the most first-round draft picks of all time, and or the greatest college football team of all time? Are you just a system of that, or can you be a true number one wide receiver, pulling a team out of the gutter, which that's what you're going to be expected to do if you're drafted in like the top 10, which we think he is, probably even top 5 for Jamar Chase? Are you going to be able to pull the Bengals out of the rut they're in? I don't know, because I don't think enough people gave his surrounding talent, credit. You look at Terrace Marshall, you look at Justin Jefferson, you look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you look at Thaddeus Moss, you look at that offensive line, you look at Joe Burrow. I mean, everything was there for him to be successful. And, I would love to have seen him come back this year and seen what he could do with Miles Brennan and Max Johnson, but he ended up not. So that is what it is. But for a pro comp, I want y'all to let me know about this one too. This one was kind of hard. And Pro Football Focus had it, I think they were way off. I don't even remember what player they compared him to, but I was like, that don't make any sense. But I like him to Stephon Diggs from Minnesota. He's a go-getter. He can be a wide receiver. I think he can be a wide receiver one for a team. I think he's a multi-time Pro Bowler, a top 5 wide receiver in the league. Eventually, Stephon Diggs is proven that he is arguably one of the best NFL wide receivers out there right now. I think that is the potential of Jamar Chase. They're similar sizes, they have similar skill sets, and I think he can really be special, guys. And so Stephon Diggs is my pick here for Jamar Chase. Now, number one, y'all know what it has to be. Devonta Smith, Alabama. This is my number one wide receiver. It may be controversial, but I've been on Devonta Smith since the end of the season, and I think people are just being overcritical of this kid, overlooking what his potential really could be in the NFL. He had over 230 catches, over almost 4,000 receiving yards, 46 touchdowns, 17 yards per catch over his 4 years at Alabama. Just last year, guys, let's listen to this. AP Player of the Year, Consensus All-American, Bolitnikoff Award winner, Heisman winner, Maxwell Award winner, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, Walter Camp Player of the Year. I mean, what else do you want? That's 7 accolades of being the best wide receiver or the best player in the country. He led the country in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. And, this was, I get it. Jalen Waddle went down and opened up a lot for him, but he still went out there and made the plays. They still had Mechie, Billingsley. They had Najee Harris. They had that offensive line. They had Mac Jones. They had other options, but Devonta Smith, week in and week out, was the best player in college football. And no matter what people tried to do, they couldn't stop him. He was literally unstoppable at times this year. Where, I was an Auburn fan, and doing this podcast, we watched a lot of Alabama games. There were times where I was like going to the game. It would take 1 or 2 drives, and I'm like, they're not going to be able to stop this kid. I don't know what they're doing. Auburn, your safeties are standing flat-footed while Devonta Smith's running a deep post route. That is a recipe to get cooked, and they were cooked all game long. And his pros, man, listen, his fluidity and the smoothness he plays with is one of a kind, man. There's not another prospect in this class that has as smooth as a release, a smooth running style, a fluid running style, and just a fluid, smooth feel for the position than Devonta Smith. I mean, there's times watching his film where he doesn't even look like he's trying. He don't even look like he's running. He don't even look like he's giving any effort, and he is just murdering people out on the football field, guys. That shows you how fluid and smooth he is. He understands what he's doing. He understands what he has to do on every play and what works for him. And tying along with that, my second thing is route running. It goes perfectly along with how fluid he runs these routes. He runs the most accurate, crisp routes in this class. And I know everyone's caught up on his weight, but he runs himself open with route running. And coming from Alabama, these wide receivers are so good at understanding route concepts, running all the routes in a route tree. This kid can do it all. And that's why I think the fluidity and route running are my 2 main things that I put him over Jamar Chase for, and his ball skills. He makes ridiculous, improbable catches all the time and just makes them look effortless. He dominates the game on how he attacks the ball and places his body in the perfect spot at all times. He looks like he's playing 2 steps ahead of the DB. By the time the DB locates the ball and is adjusting his body, Devonta Smith is already there, already beat him to the spot, and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't care if he weighs 4 pounds. There's nothing you can do about it when he beats you to the spot. And just to his cons, I get it. His weight, 165, 175, probably. It's vastly undersized for most NFL wide receivers. I'm on your side about that. But we've seen it be done. And those players are in the NFL Hall of Fame. And some of these players are in the NFL Hall of Fame that have done this. And, the other criticism is the scheme and the surrounding talent. I get it. He led the country in screen production, and he was schemed into a lot of good situations. I get it. The bubble screens, the motion screens, all kind of stuff. I get it. It was a really good scheme put by Steve Sarkisian, but there were times where he just straight up ran better routes and made better decisions running his routes than the DB and ran himself open. I don't think I don't think you could say Devonta Smith is a system wide receiver. And if you do, I beg to ask why you don't think Jamar Chase is a system wide receiver. And the same thing, Jamar Chase had more help. Jamar Chase had what, the better quarterback, I would say. Jamar Chase arguably had a better team overall. I mean, I don't think this kid's a system wide receiver. I think more of the route running, ball skills, fluidity are some of the things that really that's going to make him work in the NFL. And I think his discipline is on another level, man. This kid is the hardest worker in the room. Everything I've read about him, every Alabama guy I've talked to, he is going to be the hardest worker in any locker room. And I think that's really what separates him. And his pro comparison, I know not a lot of people are going to like this. I have Marvin Harrison the more I think about it. He reminds me so much of Marvin Harrison with that real, I guess, light frame where he looks just kind of lanky, like he's not really trying. He doesn't look hyper athletic, but he's constantly running better routes. He's looking he runs so fluid. He makes plays based on his mind and being in the right position at all time. And he was always the hardest worker in the room, and he's a true leader of an offense. Marvin Harrison is in the Hall of Fame, guys, and I think that is Devonta Smith's ceiling, is a Marvin Smith type career where, he might not be the flashiest guy and, lead the league and receiving every year or anything like that, but he will be consistently one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and could possibly put together a Hall of Fame career. And I think that is why I have Devonta Smith over Jamar Chase. So, guys, that is my top 5 wide receivers in the NFL draft. In case y'all missed it, you got Rashod Bateman, Rondale Moore, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, and Devonta Smith. So that's my top 5. In the comments on YouTube, guys, go ahead and give me your top 5. You can give me reasons as well. I'll comment back. We can go back and forth. Man, I love seeing what y'all think, interacting with you guys on YouTube. Y'all have been so great with that now. So go ahead, give this video a thumbs up if you're watching now, man. It helps us out, gets our content out there into the YouTube universe. All their algorithms and crap they got out there now. So help us out, man. Give this video a like and also subscribe to our channel, man. It also helps us out in terms of YouTube visibility. And as we approach 100 subscribers, we're going to be starting to release what's in this merch bundle for you guys. So if you're one of the first 100 subscribers, you'll be automatically entered into the drawing to be one of the 5 of our first 100 subscribers to get a merch bundle. And as you're on the path to 200, you'll automatically be entered into the 200 subscriber thing where we're going to give out, I think it's going to be 2 pairs of AirPods. So make sure to do that, guys. Man, we got some awesome giveaways. We got some awesome content coming y'all's way. As y'all know, Big 12 and 30 days is rolling. Monday, man, we got Jessica Cooley from Oklahoma coming on to talk some Oklahoma football, man. I was so glad to have her on the podcast. We also start our NFL draft corner on Monday. We had an awesome episode today all about Seahawks, what they could do in the draft. We're having, as y'all know, we're part of the Worst Tape Network. Big news coming soon, so stay tuned for that. But we're going to have some of our guys who cover the different NFL teams on there come on. We also got our boy Couch Coach coming on to talk some Washington football team. Had him on to talk some North Carolina football during the season. And that's where I went on to preview the past season on his podcast, Couch Coach Live. So check that out as well. But guys, y'all know where to find us, man. And I really appreciate y'all's support. Y'all make this so much worth it. All y'all's awesome comments and interactions. So keep watching with us, man. Monday through Friday on the 2-minute drill. You can find the audio version of our podcast on any and all podcast streaming platforms. But guys, y'all have an amazing weekend. Enjoy the Masters if you're a big golf fan. But for myself, for the Blue Bloods and the 2-minute drill, guys, we are out.